Hello and welcome to this episode of the Summer of Self-Love. I'm so excited about this show because it really is about embracing ourselves and loving ourselves deeply. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine, Darcy Volden. Welcome.
Glad to be here, Mia. Thank you so much.
It's awesome to have you. So let's get into the juiciness of self-love, right?
Mm.
It's such a not just a feel good, but it changes our life. It changes
Yeah.
who we are structurally in every way. So share with us your journey, what brought you to self-love.
I love this. I love this. Life for me used to be really different. I used to weigh almost 300 pounds, and I was broker than a joke, living in a suburb apartment in a difficult marriage. My teenage son at the time was abusive to me, difficult teenage years. And I was suffering in the inside. I was longing for so much more. And then one day I took a look around me and was like, well, who is this? I'm like, I am not some fat, middle-aged, broke woman living in a suburb, wishing and dreaming of a different life and feeling miserable. It's like, is this as good as it gets? And it was in that moment that I decided to change. Like, that's it. This is not who I am. But then it opens up the question, okay, well, who am I really? I know I'm not this very overweight, broke woman struggling and suffering. So who am I? And as it would turn out to be, a long story really short, is that I decided to just ditch everything and get to zero. I manifested an RV and I hit the road indefinitely to go do the quintessential go find myself. But part of that too was to go check off all the things I ever wanted to do in my life. And that's where that story jumps off. And that's how, you came into my life. But that's where that journey of self-love began, because I knew it was going to be this inward journey. Because as I teach too, it's like what's going on in our outside world is a printout of what's going on in here. And I could see, in this body, this girl wasn't loving herself or her life. And it was clear, it was how well my world and my body, myself, my thoughts were showing up. And then once I could get to that kind of zero clear state and start returning to love and self-love, my world just blew completely open. So I'll leave it there as the jumping off point.
I love that. It's interesting on the self-love journey because I know what you've shared with me before, which is really cool. But we go on a discovery of many aspects of ourselves, right? According to our age in life, what we've experienced. And I don't know if you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Have a really cool story that not very many people are strong enough, we'll say, to embrace. And that is one of your path of finding who you are was your sensualism, right? You lost weight and you were still discovering who am I really sensually as a woman, connected, and how does self-love fit into all of this? And you took a journey. And the reason I love this is because I used to teach on tantric energy and the feminine wellness and all this. So you became a burlesque dancer.
Yeah.
To your life, right? You weren't 20, you were in your 40s.
Late 40s, yes.
You became a burlesque dancer. And so really, it's a beautiful story. So share it with us a little bit about that, and then we're going to get into some teaching.
Yeah. Well, I had spent so long hating on myself, it's my body. Like I said, I look in the mirror and I see this roll, that roll, that. But like I said, there was this woman in the inside that wanted to come out, that sensual side, that beautiful side, that playful side. And I did feel so uncomfortable in my body. And I found my way into burlesque. It was the first burlesque show that I ever went to. I actually saw a very heavy woman up on stage perform. And that gal, I'm telling you what, man, she knocked it out of the park. She got up there, she owned it. She was confident, she was strong. I didn't see an overweight woman. She was probably over 300 pounds, but I didn't see that. I just saw a beautiful, fiery woman just out there, just owning it. And it was like, wow, like that, you know, like I want to experience that. And as the bridges of incident would be, and I say bridges of incident because, you know, I teach manifesting mastery. So it's like, you know, how can I manifest this? Like, what would it be like? What if I could become a burlesque performer? What if I could become a model? What if I could perform on stage, peeling it off in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people? What if people were asking me for my autograph? And that is exactly what came to be. And it was even that, so that performing really helped me to get comfortable in my body. And then I went from, you know, all this hiding to literally, you know, on stage in front of hundreds of people. And as it turned out to be too, people would come and ask me for my autograph, you know.
It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful story because, you know, when I see you, you know, as you tell your story, taking off in your RV and going to see and live the life that you want to live and that you're creating as you go along. This is a story that's going to be one of your stories when you're old and, you know, sharing it with friends and other people now. But it's like, well, people who don't know you, well, who are you, Darcy? And what have you done in your life? And you'll be like, oh, it took a little while, but here it is, you know? And that's really very cool because to embrace our body is self-love. It's also body love. And so in that aspect, we get to love and nurture ourselves, and our body keeps the score literally on everything that happens, good and bad. And so to be able to honor it in that way, it's not the path for everybody. So guys and gals, ladies out there, I'm not saying, you know, go be a burlesque dancer. I also looked into that. I did not perform as a dancer, but I started going to some shows and stuff because I was like, wow, this is really cool. And, you know, I dressed the part as an audience member, you know, just I've got some really cool pictures with friends from great nights out. That's one reason why I really love and respect that you actually took that leap, that jump to do it, because if we don't take a leap or jump, we're stuck behind and we just aren't living our life. So congrats on that. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's been incredible. And I mean, you've watched me for quite a few years now, kind of this evolution. And like you said, it's that taking the leap, you know what I mean? Like, and how do you do that? You know, because some of it like seems so scary or impossible or whatever, but it is at that point of that choice. Like I choose me. And for me, and Mia, you've heard me say this a lot. It's just like in the moment that I made that choice to really start loving me and loving my life, you know, I look at, okay, probable, almost certain future. If I don't make any changes at all, what does that look like? You know, I'm probably going to continue to gain more weight. I'll never run. I'll never climb a mountain. I'll never go hiking, skinny dipping. None of it. I mean, none of it's going to happen. And then what? I die. And then what? You know, not one of us, not anybody that's listening, none of us want to leave here being like, meh, you know, it was all right, or to leave here sad or depressed, or to like, man, I was like, I'm not going to have this be a wasted life. We've been gifted by God, source, universe, the most incredible life, wants to give us this in abundance and more and more and more. The universe wants to play with you, you know, if you be willing to receive. But like I said, the choice was probable, almost certain future, or just radical change. Like, what if? Like, what would radical change look like? And just to run a play. You know, I mean, like in my mind, it's like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? At least I can say, well, I tried. Was it scary? Hell yes. I got plenty of stories, breaking down on the side of the road, in this RV and not having a dime, I mean, it's like, but, and those, it's the challenges too, that make you stronger and help you to discover, what you're capable of. We're so much, we hear it, we're so much more powerful than we know that we are. And we're braver than we think that we are. We're stronger and we're more beautiful than we even realize that we are. When you really start to tap in to your heart and who you are. Oh my God, look, I can just go. But yeah.
I hear you and I feel you. It's an incredible journey and everybody needs to eat. You made me think of my journey too. And so yeah, so I'm going to need to share that as well, when somebody interviews me for the show.
I'll be glad to do that.
Oh, how fun. Okay. It's a date. Yeah, because it's our moments of inception into I want to change my life is really the most valuable thing you will ever experience in your life. I mean, it brings me to tears sometimes because it has been the most beautiful change of life. And we'll wait for my interview to come because I'm like, and in my experience. Yes. So will you share with us 3 tips or tools that you love to use for self-love and that you love to recommend to clients?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. So I think for me right now, I'm not going in any particular order here, but for right now, because it has to stay in place, right? I mean, just as the human experience, we're experiencing the waves of emotion, and especially as we're ascending and transcending and growing, there's those times, I'm not always like this. I am most of the time, but there's times, but and then how do I return to that self-love? So one of my self-love practices is to close my eyes. And sometimes we call this meditation. But I think sometimes when people hear the word meditation or are new to meditation, it sounds like this thing that you have to do. But it's really an opportunity to shut down the outside senses that are flowing in. Because who we really are is who we are behind our eyes when we close our eyes. And you can feel yourself when you look at who you are beyond your labels, your titles, your name, your body, who you see in the mirror, right? We're just this energetic being. We're sound and light inside here. And so who are you? And you can feel those truths, the truth of who you are, because it feels light. How in behind your eyes, in your imagination, who do you be? How do you play? How do you dance? How do you feel? How do you express yourself if you knew nobody was judging you? And so for me, that's my biggest practice, is just closing my eyes and being me and playing in me, in my imagination, which the imagination is the most powerful creation tool that we have. And being in those frequencies, and that's a lot about what I teach in manifesting too, is I teach about how to speak the language of the universe in frequency, and feeling in this self-love frequency state, love, abundance, playfulness, celebration. And that helps me to tune into and get attuned in my self-love, my love for myself. And by the way, in manifesting terms too, everything happens the imagination first. So when I can start feeling love for myself here in my imagination, it will start then printing out in the 3D world. People around you will shift, your circumstances will shift, your whole life will shift. Other manifesting tool or self-love tool is it's actually a journal that I designed when I first left on the road. It was kind of a culmination of journals that I put together, but because I'm so into the manifesting mastery, this journal is my self-love practice. It's very, very intentionally designed to elicit self-love, and create those feeling frequencies that I talked about. So it is a daily practice of me doing that journal. And so it helps me to tap into all of that. And the third thing is, on a self-love practice, is doing things for myself that bring me enjoyment. And that could just, I mean, that could just be anything, you know, like, I love just for a good long drive down the road, you know, like I'm happiest driving, being on the road, but it's like enjoyment. Anything that brings me feeling, state, frequency, enjoyment, like, yeah, God, wow, that. And intentionally making those practices happen, because we can sit and think about it. You got to do it. You got to do it. You know, I mean, the little voice that say, that's silly, or, oh no, maybe tomorrow. No, go do it. So yeah, that's what I got for
I
you.
love that. And you know, so let's break it down. So closing the eyes and getting balanced inside is a really beautiful tool. It's an amazing tool to also use and take at any given moment when you're stressed out. When somebody is stressed out, I did this the other day and I was like, it works. We had been having we had this electrical issue going on, and our electricity went out for hours and hours and hours in the whole, you know, complex here. It's not a complex, it's a house that's divided into a few little homes. And so the thing about that was, I was like, gosh, it's going to get hot. We were cranky and we were getting grouchy. And turns out that somebody cut the electricity at the street, literally cut it. And so I called and the landlord called and they sent somebody out and it was fixed, right? That's fine. Beautiful. I love that. It took many, many, many hours more. But then we had an electrical storm 2 days ago and the power goes out again. And my husband's like, gonna lose it big time. So he starts doing his verbal talk. And I just sit here and I'm like, I decided to just go within and to just tune out all the noise, because I'm like, I don't want to experience that. So it's a really, when you were sharing that, I was like, that is such a cool place to be, right? It's either bringing up the joy, the love in us, or focusing in on a stillness that we don't have to hear what's going on externally. We are that powerful to shift and change our exterior environment by changing our interior environment, right? I love that. So thank you so much. That's really beautiful. And your manifesting journal is your free gift to everybody. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful and so amazing to be able to have a tool that you can use in your morning practice to move forward through your day, to enrich it, to strengthen it. There's nothing more valuable in self-love than a morning routine, everyone. So that's really cool. And I love this other part, the last part. To do the thing that brings you joy. People don't say, you and I do, because we talk about this stuff, but most people don't say, oh my gosh, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to be excited. Like every time, say I would close a client or something, there's a big celebration. And it's not always just for me. Sometimes I will send something to a friend who, you know, that I've been hanging out with on the phone or Zoom or something that lives far away. And I'm like, let's celebrate. And they're like, yeah, you know, it's about expanding out. So I love that you brought that up, because people don't honor themselves enough to celebrate, right? To change the frequency of who we are and put it out into the world and go and do it. And do it.
It's
and
huge.
Recognize that, right?
Yeah. It's so huge. Like, and like I said, that's one of the things that I teach is about how to shift these frequencies, because it's like, once we can can shift it like that to like I said, celebration, elation, joy, like I said, even the word abundance, when we start feeling that, it starts to become the norm. You know, it is kind of like building a muscle, but then this becomes a dominant energetic signature of who you be. But it's so important to put those practices in. Like I said, it's just kind of like building a muscle, and just to stop, you know, even if you're just having a moment, you know, and you're just like feeling frustrated, or I mean, just even like in your example, but just stop and just, okay, and just, you can just be there now. I can just be in the field of abundance right now. You know, I can just be in just, right now. One of the things in a practice that I do that's in the deluxe version of the journal is, and you can do this, is like, I love the feeling when, because you literally feel it in your body. And I keep a whole list going that I always go back to. So for example, like, I love the way my little pug's ears feel on my lips. Like, just love that feeling, you know. Or I love the way the carpet at my mom's house feels on my feet. But we can always take ourselves back to those moments of, I love the feeling when. Love the feeling when. And we can just, you know, in those moments that we're just not feeling it, or we're afraid or stressed or down, you can just pull it back up. You just get you to at least a zero state, and then we can pull it back higher from there. But as you can see, I can keep going on and on about it. But yeah,
Your
beautiful.
mom must have wool carpets.
I don't know what it is about those carpets, but dang.
When you said that, I was brought back to when I was 4 years old. We had wool Berber carpets, and I can still feel them. And I remember when my first husband and I went and visited the Bel Air Hotel to get married, to find a venue. And I took my shoes off and put my feet on the carpet, and it was the same carpet. I was like, we didn't choose that place, but it's that sensory that we need to connect with. We're sensual beings, right?
Yes.
We have these senses, and these senses are part of our soul essence. And so just like a lot of times I pull open my orange,
Yes.
I
Yes.
smell it and it rebalances me, right? So
Yeah.
it's so beautiful to have those. That's really lovely. Thank you.
I love, Mia, how you said that. You know, it's this kind of like a sensual experience, that we're sensory beings, you know, because I think when people hear like sensual, it's like, oh, that's like goes sexual, but sensory beings, you know. I love that. Like you said, just in a scent, you know, or a touch.
Or the pug's ears.
And to put
I used to have a pug too, so I know those velvet ears. It's so beautiful. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Darcy, for joining us. This was really lovely to have you on.
It is my pleasure.
I love you. I adore you so much.
Likewise, miss.
I know. That's one thing I definitely know. We have such a great friendship. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please write us. We'd love to answer them. We also have a Facebook group that you can post in there too. And all the teachers will be going and checking. So thank you so much. And thank you again, Darcy. It's not turning off. Hold on, everybody. Take two.